Hello and welcome to Faith Productions podcast. I'm Angeline. A great worship mix isn't about being loud or flashy. It's about being able to reach each and every heart in the room without any distractions. I have Kenneth here with me. Ken is an audio engineer and a director of Faith Productions. So in the next few minutes, we will be listening from Ken about the role of media in the church context. So Ken, before we get into that, can you briefly share about your childhood background? Just tell us a little about yourself.
Yeah, sure. So I'm Kenneth and I'm a Bangalore boy. So I was born in Bangalore and my parents are pastors. So I'm from a pastor's family. My grandpa's a pastor. And I studied my schooling in Royal International School in Bangalore. And I did my undergrad in Bangalore, CMI University in sound engineering. And I completed my master's in audio engineering from the University of Hertfordshire in the UK.
Okay, so so a lot of young people, when they go overseas to do their studies, and then most of them end up settling there or, trying to test the water there to, maybe progress in their career overseas. But then you promptly returned to India. Why was that?
I actually grew up in a pastor's family in a household that's very strict and just church and home. But when I went to UK, I had a lot of freedom.
Yeah.
And to be frankly speaking, life was so good in the UK. I had a lot of good friends and good family there, and everything was so smooth. And I didn't feel like coming back. And I never thought that I will even think of living there, because before I went to the UK, I just didn't want to go to the UK because I was quite comfortable back home in Bangalore. And I would say that I was not happy with what I was doing. To be frank, I was doing a good job. I had good friends. I collaborated well. I had a good church. I learned a lot there. But then the problem was I was working in a secular world. I also had a lot of opportunities to work in the UK. For example, I had too many references. I did my part-time job in my university. None of my friends got that opportunity. By God's grace, I had that opportunity to work as a proctor in the university, and life was so good in the UK. I remember even when my grandpa came to UK, he told me, you can stay here if you want. You don't have to come back and take over the media. Even my dad told me the same thing. But it was purely my choice because I felt that God was calling me to come back to India. But before I came back to India, I had no clue what I was going to do here. I landed blank.
Okay.
I was like, should I join a company or should I work somewhere or what should I do? I was so clueless. But I wanted to do ministry, and I believe God honored that. So I believe that God didn't call me to work in a secular world, and He wanted me to serve in His kingdom. So I didn't have that peace. That satisfaction that yes, what you're doing is right. I was happy. I was gaining a lot of knowledge and so many things were happening. But so this is where I kind of felt like maybe it's God's will for me to go back. And after so much of prayer, I decided to come back to India and serve my church.
Yeah, so talking about your childhood, so there's this stereotype about being a pastor's kid.
Yes.
So PKs, they grow up being a wild kid,
yes,
or an angelic, saint-like person. So what were you?
I would say I'm somewhere in between. I'm not so angelic or so harsh too. I mean, people should say that. I don't know. But so growing up as a pastor's kid, my dad was a pastor and my grandpa was a pastor. So I'm like the third generation. And I would say that my childhood was pretty okay. I wouldn't say, because I was not good at studies. I struggled a lot with my education. I had a lot of failures and I just didn't know what I was going to do in my life. Well, every pastor's kid was getting their life sorted. So for example, if you see, every pastor's kid that I know could sing. They were very good at singing and they would lead worship at a very young age. But I didn't do any of that. And I was always behind the scene, very poor in my education and had a lot of problems and everything. But through it all, my parents were very supportive. My grandparents were very supportive.
So were there any rejections, challenges that you faced growing up?
So yes, I did face a lot of rejections and challenges in my life. Actually, growing up, if you see, I had a lot of stammering issues. So I used to stammer when I speak.
Yeah.
That was a very big problem that I faced. I used to go to therapy for that. And I remember in the therapy, they would teach me I need to count and speak. For example,
Yeah.
what is your name? I have to be like, what is your name? It was quite hard because I never really enjoyed that because people in my school, they made fun of me.
Yeah.
And I lost many opportunities. I was
Yeah.
rejected from many opportunities. And I remember sometimes in my church, when you have to say this memory verse and all when you were a little kid,
Yeah.
I used to stammer so much. But the same God, He changed my situation today and He made me lead worship in my church. See, this is the transition, and this is what happens when you stay faithful and when you stay committed towards God's kingdom.
Yeah.
And stammering was one of the biggest problems that I faced, because of which I lost many of the talking opportunities. If I'm talking like this so fluently today, it's purely God's grace.
Yeah.
Because more than 3-4 years, I went to therapy sessions where I had a lot of training. And another major rejection that I faced was my US visa. So I had this dream that I wanted to go to US and pursue my media studies in my UG undergrad. But for some reason, I fasted and I prayed and I tried every single promises in the Bible. You would do that, right? What
Yeah,
if you want
yeah.
something? I was so determined. I fasted for 3 days.
Okay.
And I read every single verse in the Bible, and I convinced myself saying, yes, God is going to give the visa.
Yeah.
First time I went to the interview, rejected. I was so disappointed. Then I said, no,
Yeah.
it's God's will. Let's try second time. Even the second time I got my visa rejected. And trust me, I felt like tearing away my documents. I was so hurt and disappointed because I dreamt so much.
Yeah. Yeah.
When you have that dream that, yes, this is going to happen, and when it's not happening,
Yeah.
you're like, no, I can't do this. And then I asked God 1,000 times why that moment.
Yeah.
I remember my grandpa called me and told me that when God closes one door, He opens many new doors.
Yeah.
And I believe that me and my dad, both of us were basically disappointed because we thought I would go
Yeah.
to the
Yeah.
US. But I believe that God had a different plan. See, I wanted to work and study in a spiritual atmosphere because it was more of a Christian college.
Yeah. Yeah.
But when God took me to UK, it was more of a secular life.
Yeah.
I lived with a secular world, and I believe that working in that secular world made me stronger. And I strongly believe that the technologies and the people, the connections that I made, it was the hard way. It's not like, because I grew up in a very homely church atmosphere, and going out was so different. Coming back as a good Christian is even harder.
Yes.
And I would
Yeah.
purely say that it's God's grace that carried me forward to the UK, where I learned a lot. I learned how to deal with people, speak to people. I learned, how people face issues, like working with young people too.
Yeah. And how did you motivate yourself to just get up and move on? Because, all these challenges and rejections that you've just mentioned can just bring you down, isn't it?
Yeah, actually, this US visa was something that I was completely disappointed. But again, I'm not a person who likes sitting down.
Yeah.
I like to get up and walk again. I faced so many problems like this in the past. My stammering was another issue. So I believe that God was preparing me all along the way. And for every setback, there is a miracle.
Yeah.
The only way that you can be used mightily by God is if He breaks you
Yeah.
and builds you up again. Because there's purpose in pain, there's purpose in every struggle that you go through. What people see through my life, they think, oh, everything is flowing so seamlessly on social media. But there's a lot in the background. Because you need to endure this hardship and not be very sensitive and stay disappointed. There's a lot of promises in the Bible. And there's a verse in the Bible that says that you need to renew your mind. When you meditate on the word more and more again and spend time in His presence, God automatically will slowly push you up
Yeah.
again.
And I think, and the Bible says that God's ways and His
Plans are different.
Not, what we think.
Yes.
And it's beyond. And Billy Graham once said that the will of God will not take you to a place where His grace cannot sustain you. So it's just submitting ourselves to the will of God, isn't it? And,
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I kind of believe that at that point of time, I was quite adamant that I had to go to US.
Yeah.
But right now, I just go by the flow. See, now if you ask me, I'm not that person who plans everything. Of
Yeah.
course, I plan, but then I like going by the flow right now because I understood that at that point of time, I hurt myself unnecessarily. Had I given it to God, maybe, Lord, if you want me to go, I would have gone. If not, stay in India. It's different. But right now, after seeing this journey so far from that rejection till today, I would say that leave it in God's hands. Where He takes you, He'll take you. Like you said, the will of God will not take you far where the grace of God cannot handle.
Yeah, yeah.
So if you face a rejection in your life, remember that it's God's will and He has a better plan for it.
Yeah. So do not give up.
Don't give up.
Yeah, don't give up.
I did face a lot of pressure from the church too sometimes, from people, they all have their own opinions. So there were times when I went extremely harsh,
Yeah.
where I was very rude, and there were times where God had to soften my heart.
Yeah, it's just that expectation, isn't it?
Yes.
From the expectation that they have.
Yeah. So
but-
people have a lot of expectation
Yeah.
that they have to fulfill. And when you don't do that, it's hard. So sometimes the
Yeah.
pressure comes on you, it comes on your family, it comes on your parents and all those things. So if you look at my dad, even he was a pastor's kid. And I remember he was telling this story to me that he didn't want to come into ministry at all.
Yeah.
He said that he was a pastor's kid and he didn't like the way people treated. But then if you see, he ended up in ministry. And I believe that they kind of handle things quite well back home. Like when I had a lot of failures in life, they supported me. They didn't push me away.
Yeah.
My grandpa too stood like a pillar for whatever I'm doing today.
So growing up, did you always think about media or anything related to media that you would get into that field, or was there something else that you all wanted to be?
I was quite interested in photography, but I never thought that I would be involved so much into this media field.
Yeah.
Because if you look at this media ministry, especially in India,
Yeah.
there's like no scope for it or no hope for it. So growing up, I would say I had some interest in photography. I remember my dad used to give me that old camera and the film cameras,
yeah.
and I used to click a lot of pictures, like random. And I had a lot of interest in photography. But then I would say it's during COVID when, I had to take over the media ministry at my church. That's where
Yeah.
I started to find that interest in media.
Oh, that's very encouraging to hear, Ken. So just a quick, rapid questions.
Yes.
Rapid fire for you. So are you an early bird or night owl?
Night owl.
Plan ahead or go with the flow?
Go with the flow.
Would you prefer to lead a team or work alone?
Lead a team.
Okay. Coffee or tea to start the day?
Coffee. Any day.
Talk it out or write an email?
Talk it out.
Okay. Good. Fine. So Faith Productions.
Yes.
So you started this
Yes.
and you're in your mid-20s.
Yes.
Which is a big achievement for someone that age to start
Yes.
something like this. So why did you start this?
Yeah, so first I would give all glory to God for whatever He has done through Faith Productions. Before I say, it's purely His grace and favor upon my life that I am doing what I'm doing right now.
Yeah.
So one thing that I understood in India is people don't have the exposure to learn and grow in the media sector. Many churches, they have the budget to improve their church's media ministry, but they don't know how to start.
Yeah.
You see that many people, they try to sell things to churches. And I was like that. I struggled that way, and our church struggled that way. If you look at my grandpa, who's the senior pastor of our church, we never streamed live for 40 years. The reason being, we didn't know a starting point, we didn't know how to go about things, and we were quite confused. And when we started, I found it very difficult.
Yeah.
So when I went to the UK, I was like exposed to a lot of new technologies there. A lot of modern technologies, live stream techniques and church production. And I understood
Yeah.
that it's so simple. Why can't the churches in India to grow and develop that way?
Yeah.
So that was a deep burden in my heart. So when I came back to India, I started visiting few churches who would
Yeah.
call me and say, brother, we're struggling with this issue. Can you come and help fix it out? If you see that I don't like selling things and I don't like pushing things to churches.
Yeah.
What is required for them, give them that solution and make sure their ministry grows. So one of the deep desires is to equip churches for worship and ministry in this modern era.
Yeah.
That is the main reason why I started Faith Productions.
Okay. So what is your role? What do you do? If you can just unpack that for us.
So I'm the production director at Faith Productions. So basically, before I say what I do, Faith Productions is a ministry of Faith AG Church, Bangalore. So Faith AG Church is again my church. So I go around all over India training churches, providing professional consultations for audio, video, and light installations. And I do a lot of tutorials online too, so that churches grow and they could reach more people through this media ministry.
So Ken, how did you manage the media ministry, especially during the COVID time, even before, that was before you started a team?
Yes. So it was like jumping on a moving bus. I had no choice, and I had to take up the responsibility because there were some members who left at that moment. And it was very hard because I had no knowledge, no exposure, and our equipments were not up to the mark at that point. See, we had just one computer, and suddenly it would overheat and it would turn off. And I would go tell pastor to stop preaching. It was a very hard journey, and I just had to go through some YouTube resources. Thankfully, some guys put up some small tutorials and videos out there.
Yeah, and you were not qualified at that time.
And I was not qualified at that time. And I remember at that point of time, it was very hard. I used to ask some churches for help, and they would be very rude to me.
Okay.
I was quite hurt even in that area too sometimes, and it was a very tough journey. But then I'm thankful to God because I was able to get through that season, and by God's grace, our church media grew. We were able to invest in a lot of new equipment and build our media ministry. And at that point of time, I was doing it all alone.
Yeah.
There was no one to help me, and it was such a hard journey.
And how many people do you have now in your
Now we have about 13 members
Wow.
in our media team, by God's grace, yes.
Wow. And you've done workshops
Yes.
across. So how have you felt doing these workshops at
So
different locations and
one
churches?
of the major things of how I started doing these workshops was, I remember talking to someone from Hyderabad once, and he told me that you're doing a lot of tutorials and trainings. How about organizing a workshop once?
Yeah.
At that time, I had the idea for workshop, but I didn't know how to go about. And I understood one thing, that when you host a workshop, many people come together at one particular location, and then they, form a community, and they can learn and grow together.
Yeah.
And so we started hosting a workshop in Bangalore. And guess how many people came to our first workshop? When I asked someone this question, they told me like 15 or 10 people would just show up.
Okay.
And I was quite disappointed. I'm like, no, this is not my faith. I expected more, and then we got nearly 45 people for our first workshop in Bangalore.
That's amazing. Wow.
And the best part, these 45 people are not from Bangalore alone. They're from Gujarat, they're from north, south, east, and west of India, like Tamil Nadu, Kerala. So we see that people are hungry to learn.
Yeah.
So seeing this, I decided, why not host workshops in different cities of India? So it's much more easy for local people to come there, and they can get to train and grow their church's ministry.
Okay.
So this is one of the main reasons why we started hosting workshops all across India.
So how do you balance between your travel, conducting workshops and meeting people, and the media in the church, your involvement here locally?
One of the main things is I always like staying rooted to my church, and I don't go out on a Sundays. So wherever I travel from Monday to Friday. Of course, it's my church, and I have the freedom.
Yeah.
My grandpa kind of gave me the freedom to do whatever I want. But I understand that the local church is where I'm being backed up.
Yeah.
It's where I'm growing spiritually. If I don't stay in one place particularly, you cannot grow. So that's the
And
thing.
would you consider media to be a ministry within the church? Because it's easy to say there's Sunday school, and then there's youth, and then the worship, but then media, it's completely tech. And
Probably if you would have asked this question 10 years back, I don't think people would even consider media as a ministry.
Yeah.
But today it's quite important, considering the scale at which, you don't live stream, your church is dead. That's what people say. And you need to give importance to media ministry, as there are a lot of people involved. There's a lot of work going on behind the scene. One of the lessons that I learned serving in media ministry is you don't get the spotlight, but still you can serve God.
Yeah.
And it's not easy. You need to set up the systems, you need to tune your systems, you need to face a lot of challenges from people.
Yeah.
So media should be considered as a ministry in the churches in this generation, especially in India, because many churches are growing at a rapid scale right now, and they do have a lot of equipment and things that need to be managed and maintained.
Yeah, yeah. And also, I think it's not only just within the four walls, isn't it? Taking the
Yes.
gospel beyond the four walls.
Yes.
And it's a mission.
It's a mission,
Yeah.
yes.
But then there's this boundary or a fine line that you draw.
Yes.
Media can take you to a very loud, flashy entertainment kind of a
Yes.
route.
Yeah.
So how do you balance that? Because it's a church setting, it's a
Yes.
house of worship, and then you've got the entertainment
Yeah.
aspect as well. So how do you draw that line in a church?
I would say stick to your church's mission.
Yeah.
So it's very important that we understand the mission of the church. See, today many churches, they have the budget. You can go for you can go for a setup that's like 30 to 40 lakhs or something like that and make no use of it, and then will cause a lot of distraction in the church. Take lighting as an example. They say color lights are bad. I would say it depends on how we use them. If the mission of your church is not like to have much more flashy lights, it's a much more simple and a quiet setup, you could go for something much simpler. So we need to understand the mission and vision of the church and speak to the pastor regarding that. Understand what he wants, understand the mission. Because when we don't align our mind with the mission and vision, and when we compare to something that's beyond our range, that's where we go out of track.
Yeah.
So it's very important to stay focused on the mission of our church, and our duty as media ministry is to help the church grow, not to control the church.
Yeah.
The pastors, they are the head of the church, and then they give us the instructions to, go about things.
Yeah.
And we shouldn't like control everything. We are just serving in the church, like how, the housekeeping team serves the church,
Yeah.
the worship team, they serve the church. So that's how even media works. So it's important to go with the mission of the church.
Yeah. And, as you mentioned, a lot of churches are willing to invest
Yes.
in media equipment and technology. So when did the shift happen? Because growing up as a girl, I remember the churches, they didn't put a lot of investment in
Yes.
this field, but they just had a decent sound system. As long as you can hear,
Yes.
that was fine. But then growing up, all these happened, the light, sound, everything happened in a concert. And then
Yes.
it stayed there. It didn't get into the churches. So when did that shift happen?
I would say the shift happened during COVID. So COVID is one of the reasons that the shift happened.
Yeah.
But beyond that, I would say that the next generation
Yeah.
are hungry. They say that the next generation, they want to grow the church, they want to develop. Many churches that I go to, they tell me, we have good worship team right now. We don't want to
Yeah.
lose that flow. So we are willing to upgrade. We want to go for a bigger setup. So
Yeah.
I think that it's COVID that pushed churches to live streaming. But in terms of having a good professional quality and a setup and to have a seamless flow of worship, now churches are willing to invest. Because, you wouldn't like to have a Sunday service with full of distraction and noise. I remember some churches, they say me that they preach the sermon and nobody can hear.
Yeah.
That's such a waste, right? Pastors spend a lot of time praying and a lot of things that goes in the background. So I would say right now churches are willing to invest and grow their
Yeah.
media ministry.
Okay, so the churches that you've been working with so far, are they all churches based in urban areas or?
It's more of urban and rural too.
Okay.
So-
So are the rural churches catching up with?
Yeah, definitely, because there are a lot of young people, like I said, in the churches. See, it's very important that we adapt to the current trend. I'm not telling that you have to spend too much money for that to
Yeah.
get an upgrade, but it's very important that we have a good, decent setup so that the gospel is spread in a most effective way. See, when I travel to UK and many places, I've seen these secular concerts. They spend a lot of money so that, every person who attends that concert can experience the
Yeah.
music. Why can't we churches do that? See, we have the resources. Man made these resources. People have good mixers. But when we have that, I think it's high time that we start upgrading our churches to a good standard so that the next generation can benefit from this.
Yeah. And what about churches that have very limited resources in terms of finance and even people? What would be your advice for them to?
So if you do have financial constraints, I'm not saying that you have to go all in and spend a huge amount on it.
Yeah.
But when we have that desire that we have to grow our church, I believe that God will automatically lead their ministry into such kind of setups and maybe bless them with something better.
Okay, so today AI is a hot topic
Yes.
in all the field, be it work or anywhere. So, how do you think this would impact the media ministry?
Um, AI is good. I wouldn't say that it's bad.
Yeah.
My sister, she's an AI engineer.
Okay.
So it's not bad. I wouldn't say it's bad.
Yeah.
But it's very important that we draw the line.
Yeah.
You know, we can't, you can't use AI to generate an idea and control the church, like replace volunteers.
Yeah.
See, for churches where there's no manpower, I totally agree.
Yeah.
For example, I visit some churches and they create their YouTube thumbnails and all through AI. See, it's not wrong. I wouldn't say that. Maybe you don't have the people to do it. But when you have volunteers, it may not look as good as an AI design, but you're using someone to build God's kingdom,
Yeah.
which is very important. That's what Jesus says is. That's
Yeah.
what the church is about. See, the church is not about the lights, fans, and equipment.
Yeah.
We are the church.
Yeah.
The people are the church. It's not the computers. So
Yeah.
we can use AI to help us, assist us in getting ideas, maybe like rephrase sentences, which I use
Yeah.
always. But using AI to control everything and take over our human responsibilities, I would say a big no for that.
Yeah, I think you're right because it's about relationship and building teams and
Yes.
communicating with people within the church.
Because if you see, a machine never makes a mistake. It makes a
Yeah.
mistake, but it shows up on time sometimes. You just put a prompt and you get
Yeah.
the content that you need.
Yeah.
But humans, we have to tell them again and again. And sometimes, working with people is hard. But I would say we need to use our human talent sometimes
Yes.
than AI.
Yeah, and I think AI or technology cannot sense the emotional
Yes.
and the spiritual shift in the room.
Yes, exactly.
So yeah, I think there needs to be a balance,
Yeah.
like you mentioned. And you lead a media team within
Yes.
the church. So how do you manage the team? Because nobody is paid
Yes.
within the team members. And everyone volunteer,
Yes.
and they have their own personal life, work,
Yes.
education. So how do you manage the team?
Keep your team first, your
Yeah.
team members first. So, as a team leader, it's very important that more than the equipment,
Yeah.
you need to look at the people because they're humans, they have emotions, they have, Monday to Friday, they work in the secular world.
Yeah.
And maybe someday someone may have a bad day and you can't go be rude to them and push them off. So it's very important that we understand and reflect the love of Christ as a leader to your team members and take them out. You can have this team outings, have
Yeah.
food with them. If you feel someone is sad, speak to them. See, media ministry is something that's within the church, but there's a life outside too, which you
Yeah.
have, which as a leader, I have to look after them. I know many people who go away from the church sometimes and they're backslidden, and I speak to them.
Yeah, yeah.
It's very important that you have that conversation with them and you speak to them and you tell them, this is wrong or this is right or what's
Yeah.
happening, how's your education, how's your schooling, and they open up.
Yeah.
And when they open up, you feel good, okay, you can share some more and you can counsel them and comfort them.
Yeah. And there's also a lot of learning involved,
Yes.
isn't it? There's lots of training
Yes,
and,
yes.
and keeping yourself updated.
It's very important in that aspect too, but we have to do it in a loving and a kind way.
Yeah.
People are quite sensitive these days. You can't be harsh and rude to your team members and avoid being the boss always.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what there's a balance because being a boss is almost a dead
Yes,
concept.
yes.
So being a leader. So
So
you're one among the team.
You need to be one among the team.
Yeah.
You need to be the team and put your team members first always.
Yeah. So how do you handle criticisms? Because I'm sure that it isn't a bed of rose for you
Yeah.
when it comes to what you're doing.
Yes.
And especially being online.
Yes.
You have online trolls and, how
So
do you
talking
manage?
about criticism, being a pastor's kid, I've had a lot of criticism all my childhood. And I'll just say one thing. So there was this incident once in my church before I
Yeah.
took over the media. This was when I was quite young. I was operating some, computer, like in the media, displaying lyrics or something. So I remember a person from my church who was looking at the media at that time, and he just shouted at me so loud. And he was so rude to me, and I remember getting so deeply hurt. It happened during a Sunday service. People were sitting inside the church. The media room was outside that time, like within the church, and I got so hurt. And that was the first time that I would say that I thought I would not come into church next time, because it was humiliating at the same time. And I learned to deal with that by praying and taking it to God.
Yeah.
You know, I still remember I went home that day, and I didn't tell my mom, dad. My mom, dad didn't know about that. Some believer told that to my mom and my grandpa. And I said, God, why? And that's when the Lord said that only if you're broken and only if you go through such kind of experience can you become stronger. And that was, like, I would say, the first major criticism that I faced being in the church. And then going on, put your focus on God.
Yeah.
You know, they say that the church will hurt you sometimes, people will hurt you, everybody will hurt you. If you look at Peter, he stepped out of the boat and he walked on water.
Yeah.
But when his focus shifted from Jesus to the storm, he sank.
Yeah.
So many a times as Christians, when we walk through this journey, you know, we're all humans, people fail sometimes. It's very important that we understand that and keep our focus on Jesus and why we are running for.
Yeah.
There's a verse in the Bible, whatever you do, work at it with all your heart, as working for the Lord and not for man.
Yeah.
So when your heart and your mind is fixed that, yes, I'm doing it for God, the noise around you fades.
Yeah. And I think it's okay to stumble a little bit because we're all human beings. And Peter did sink, but God stepped in and pulled him up.
Yes.
Yeah. So our God is big enough to
cover
and then step into any situation that you're in. So it's not that, you know, you need to be this perfect.
Yes.
Yeah. So have you ever thought about quitting what you're doing?
Yes, so many times.
Okay.
So I feel like quitting like sometimes every 2 months, or I feel like running away from the place I'm in. Sometimes you think, you know, you want to be quiet, silent in a corner of the room, and you don't want to be noticed, or I don't want anyone to talk about these things. So there were a lot of times like this where I felt the pressure so heavy on me that I wanted to quit and just run away. And this is not something that happened after Faith Productions.
Yeah.
I started Faith Productions. It was like from quite young age onwards.
Yeah.
But then through it all, like I said, I kept my focus on Jesus and the mission on why I'm doing this. And I believe that God helped me get through these.
Yeah. And being a sound engineer,
Yeah.
you work at the background, you and your team.
Yes.
So you're not in the spotlight, you're not in the front.
Yes.
So people don't really see you much.
Yes.
So there's a saying that, you know, it's always how's the sound and never how's the sound guy. So nobody even sometimes cares.
Yes.
So how do you feel about that?
Again, I would say we are not doing it for our for name or our fame or people to look at us and say, oh, look at this guy.
Yeah.
So that's something that, you know, one benefit of working in the media ministry is you become humble over time. Because people don't appreciate you, people don't see you, and then sometimes the question goes in your head, no one is looking at my effort. And at one point you will come to a conclusion saying that I'm doing it for God and not for man. So there were times where I felt like that, but then I had to remind myself again that this is for God, this is to glorify God's name and not for man. Because when we run behind appreciation, comments and people and all these noise, we tend to sink quickly.
Yeah.
We tend to lose focus because when we think about people, just imagine someone is appreciating you constantly and suddenly he criticizes you because you did something wrong. You're hurt, you're offended, and you don't feel like going to church. So when you fix your eyes on Jesus and when you avoid all these things, I would say that even if they criticize you, even if you're appreciated, even if no one sees you, you would still be doing what you're doing. I go to church every Sunday at 4:30 in the morning, and it's quite hard. You know, no one comes and tells me, oh, good job, you go at 4:30 in the morning.
Yeah, nobody sees
Nobody
it.
sees that.
Yeah.
And I don't think I even care about that because I am determined. I am doing it for God, and I want people to know that I want the people who come to my church every Sunday experience a good Sunday service. That's my goal. It's not like I want to have an appreciation or a tag on my head saying that
yeah.
the best engineer in the world. There are people better than me,
Yeah.
but still God chose me. I know who I am.
Yeah, yeah. So I've seen you work through the night for just preparing for the Sunday service, and this you did while you were not here, being fully involved. While you were studying,
Yes.
you were doing that as well. So yeah, it just shows your determination and your passion and your commitment to this ministry.
Yeah.
So digital burnout. So because of the constant pressure of being online and
Yeah.
doing things, do you ever think that that's a danger?
I would say yes, kind of, in today's generation, because we have a lot of people streaming the services online.
Yeah.
And sitting in the comfort of your home, watching YouTube, you can scroll through like 100 different churches in like half an hour
Yeah.
on a Sunday morning. So it's quite common that we get tired of what we are watching over and over again. But I would say that it's important that we stick to our church. For example, if you're focused with one ministry, you could stay with that ministry.
Yeah.
And if you see a lot of content online, don't fall for everything.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's very important that you read the Bible and go through the doctrines and pray about it, and then you apply such kind of things in your life. Sticking to your local church is primary, so you can avoid those burnouts. But if you consume any other content too, like Christian content, it's important that we verify with the Word of God.
Yeah. Yeah. So moving on to the work-life balance. So how do you balance your work and your personal life, especially with travels involved as well in between?
I don't feel the pressure of work at all sometimes because I love what I'm doing.
Okay.
So I basically live in the church, and my studio is in the church, and I work there too. And then what I do is ministry basically. So I enjoy what I'm doing, and I don't feel that pressure or the balance. And my parents are gracious enough to let me travel around.
Yeah.
So yeah, I enjoy what I'm doing by God's grace. Yes.
But do you think there needs to be a boundary set between your personal life so you have enough rest and you're refreshed to continue to do
Yes,
the
that's
job? Because a
very
lot of
important,
people,
yes.
then it would again lead to burnout and
For example, during my Christmas season, if you keep traveling,
yeah.
you don't have time to spend with your family or God, and that's a way of burnout. And I remember that there was this time where I was constantly traveling, and but I didn't feel the burnout, but I felt tired. I remember, I think it was during November or September, like 2 months
Yeah.
constantly, every alternate day, I was sleeping on a bus or a train.
Yeah.
I was traveling so much, and then when I came home, I could feel my body very tired. So it's important that we take care of our health too. Yeah.
Yeah, and then what is the one thing that you don't like about the job that you're doing?
Yeah, so I like meeting people, I like driving, traveling around, and it's so nice to work with young people.
Yeah.
One of the desires that I had growing up was to work with young people and working around with them, training them for church ministry, something that I like. Something that I don't prefer working on is the admin work in the back end, little bit.
Yeah, I think not everyone is built for admin.
Yeah.
Yeah. So where do you see Faith Productions in the next few years? What do you see yourself doing?
We do have a lot of plans coming up. For example, we want to host a lot of conferences and workshops across India.
Yeah.
And one of the main goal is to equip churches and make sure, they have a good transition from a traditional setup to a much more modern setup.
Yeah.
And we do have a lot of business plans coming up in the back end. So you could follow us on Instagram to see our
Yeah.
upcoming
Yeah.
setups. And yeah, we are a global company too. So we're planning to scale up a lot globally.
Okay. So you already have clients that have approached you
Yes.
from overseas, from other countries.
Yes.
as
So
well.
we've had clients from UK, Australia, US, many countries. Of course, I do it online. And yeah.
Yeah. So can you give tips, maybe 2 or 3,
Yeah.
to those wanting to get into the media ministry and
Yeah.
also those wanting a break from the media ministry, because it's not a lifelong commitment for a lot of people. So
Yes. So if you see this media ministry is mostly like by the Gen Zs and millennials, and it's very important that they understand first the vision and mission of the church. if you're not committed to the church, or if you don't have the vision and mission of the church, then
Yeah.
I don't think serving in any ministry will help. And you need to be a team player.
Yeah.
It's not you alone. There's a lot of people involved in this ministry. And then you need to be very passionate about this ministry. See, holding a camera is not a joke or a game. You need to be quite responsible and passionate about what you're doing.
Yeah.
And one of the major things is you need to understand that you will face correction. You need to be open to correction.
Yeah.
You can't be too sensitive saying that, oh, he hurt me. That's a common thing that we see today. You tell anything to people, they get hurt instantly. So you need to take in correction. You need to endure some kind of hardship sometimes. And you need to understand why you're working and what you're doing this for. You're doing it so that you build God's kingdom and not your name.
Yeah.
So, and another thing is you need to be rooted and committed to the church. And so for people who want to take a break from the ministry, I would say take a break, but don't leave the ministry. I
Yeah.
understand that working too much can burn you out sometimes.
Yeah. And so for someone who wants to get into the media ministry, what are your tips? What would you ask them to do? They don't need a proper, master's or
Yes.
a proper qualification, but then how can they get into this ministry in a church context?
See, if you're looking to get into a church ministry, or if you want to join a media team, I would say first you need to understand what's your interest in.
Yeah.
Are you interested in sound? Are you interested in social media, video
Yeah.
production?
Yeah, so
And all these things.
that's the thing,
Yeah.
isn't it? Media ministry isn't just a one thing
Yeah,
that you concentrate. There's so
yes.
many things that happens behind.
behind it,
Yeah,
yes.
clear understanding.
So you need to have a clear understanding, and if you have a leader, a media team, or a media head, probably they could train you up for that particular work alone,
Yeah,
because
yeah.
you don't need to have a master's degree because you're not doing it full time. It's just
Yeah,
probably
yeah.
on a Sundays. So you could keep things simple and work around on that particular task for a Sunday.
Yeah, yeah. And how do people contact you if they want to do workshops or,
Yeah, you can contact me through my support number. It's mentioned in the description of this video. You can call me anytime.
and you're active on Instagram?
Yeah, I'm active on Instagram too. You can watch my videos and tutorials on Instagram.
So that information will be put in the description of this podcast. So
Yes.
and so what do you do in your free time, Ken? That's not media at all.
Yeah, not media at all. I drive. I take
Okay.
my dog on a walk.
Yeah.
That's pretty much
So
it.
is that your stress buster?
Yeah, kind of.
Kind
Yes,
of, okay.
driving is definitely my stress buster.
Okay. Well, that's good to know, because I think everyone needs something that they enjoy doing outside their work
Yes.
or ministry. Ken, a short message to our younger generation.
God has given many of us talents and gifts. I would say use it to build God's kingdom. Step out of your comfort zone. It could be hard sometimes, but go out of your comfort zone. Join your ministry team, not only media, worship or serving, ushering, any team that you have in your church. Go into it, serve there. Whatever you do, work at it with all your heart as working for the Lord and not for human masters. Keep that in your mind. You're doing it for God. Build His kingdom. Start small and grow big. There's a verse in the Bible that says, whoever is faithful with little can be trusted with much.
So, Ken, thank you very much for sharing your life and the tips, especially your journey and the importance of media ministry in church.
Yeah, it was a pleasure to share my experience. I hope this is a blessing to many of the younger generations who are yet to come. I pray that many more people come up like this and build their church ministries.
Yeah. So thank you very much for watching, and I just hope and pray that you've been motivated and encouraged by what you've heard. So if you'd like to contact us with any questions or get in touch with us, the information is in the description below. So thank you for watching again, and have a blessed day.